All right, coming in with the hot tag is AEW Collision, Maximum Carnage. I forgot that the Dynamite was also Maximum Carnage. So I don't know if they had to pay Marvel the rights to use that or not, but here we are. Um, they did a back-to-back taping, so they did Dynamite from the same venue and then the next day taped Collision. And I did look it up. It's from the Andrew J. Brady Music Center in Cincinnati. Um, I I would very much like to go there. I was just on their site. I'm like, oh wow, they're gonna get like Neil deGrasse Tyson. ZZ Top is gonna play there this year. Like, that's actually pretty cool. I saw Lacuna Coil was on there on the docket at some point. Like, so they're getting some acts. They've got an outdoor and an indoor. Obviously,
Oh,
indoor seats about 4,500 people, two balconies, wicked cool venue. Can't say enough about it, but I'm gonna have to cut it off there because I got wrestling to talk about. So, uh, the show certainly lived up to its Maximum Carnage name by starting off the Texas Death Match.
you're right. Oh my gosh.
Jeez Louise, this was awesome. This was pure amazing plunder, evil, violent, sick madness. I do not like the death match genre as a whole in general. I couldn't watch a whole show of it.
Right.
God bless those guys at CZW and the sicko fans who go there and want to watch an entire card of people destroying their bodies for their entertainment.
Right.
I can handle like one on a card when I'm primed for it. This I was primed for. This I was not disappointed for. Hangman Page continues to be like, even though he lost his last Texas Death match, this against Swerve, this continues to be his match. He's not been in every single one of them that AEW has done, but he's been in most of them and he's won most of them. He won this one too against Christopher Daniels. This was purported to be behind the scenes, kind of his swan song, his last match, his retirement match, uh, unofficially, officially, unofficially. Uh, what a way to go out, though.
Yeah.
Christopher Daniels gets busted open real early, and then almost goes the full Muda the entire match. Um, and you know what? Like, even though he took I think maybe he only got about 20% of the offense in this match. The offense he did get in was convincing. Like he at one point, the biggest spot that he had, there was a barbed wire table that Hangman Page had set up, and he was going to superplex him through it. But Chris Daniels counters it into an Uranagi off the second rope through the barbed wire table, and then he hits the best moonsault ever, and then he does it again with the barbed wire board on top of it. There were parts of this match where it's like, oh man, I know he's not gonna win, but man, they're making him look real good. I don't know. I mean, this is Christopher Daniels. He's not a full time wrestler. This is the first match that he's had on AEW television in years, I think. And like, it speaks to his mastery of the craft and why, in his 30s, he was on the independent scene referred to as Old Man Daniels because he just had so much experience by that point in his life. Like, this is if this was his swan song, I don't think it could have been better. Honestly, Chris Daniels, super underrated guy. The Indies would not, and mainstream wrestling on a platform. Even though he was never really in WWE as a main roster for any length of considerable time, he and the style that he helped pioneer on the Indies in the early aughts. He was part of that crowd that really uh, would eventually come to define the style that we see today. Of just some of the moves that he does, the spots that he does, the influences that he takes from Japan. Um, just unsung a lot, but because he never spent a considerable length of time on the big stage, so to speak. But like the dude deserves his flowers, and I think that this match definitely was a big old bouquet. Match ends, you know, with Page, obviously beat him. He kicks out two best moonsaults ever. Uh, he even kicks out of the Angels' wings at one point, or he gets put down by it. I don't think. I think he beats the count. Is what it wasn't a pin because it's a Texas Death match.
Right.
But he gets back up to his feet 8 count after the second BME with the barbed wire. But he eventually gets his hands on Daniels again, hits a tombstone on him on a chair, then a dead eye onto the chair. Then and he's not done there. He hits a buckshot lariat onto the back of the head. So a northern buckshot lariat. And 10 count is mercifully a little fast by Bryce Remsburg. And this one's over. Afterwards, Hangman attacks him to still try and get the heel heat that he's looking for. Maybe he got it. I don't know. I'm still cheering for the guy. Like I'm, my guys are my guys. Like you have to do something real bad in like real life to get me to boo you. Essentially, if I've determined you're one of my guys, and Adam Page is one of my guys. So, but yeah, they did the stretcher deal with Daniels too. Oh, that's right. Page returns and hits him with the Angel's wings, not one of his own moves. He hits him with his own move, with Daniels' own move,
Yeah.
and then they stretcher him out. Um, Tony Storm is next after the break. She comes in and has a Tony time with Tony.
Yeah.
Uh, she's evasive about her past with Mariah May, but she cuts a really cool babyface promo about, she's going to be going back to wrestle for the women's world title at the same building that her mom scripted and saved to be able to take her to her first wrestling show when she was a girl. And I thought, I mean, I already loved Tony Storm, but like this is just more endearing in a more, much more classic babyface, earnest way.
Yeah.
Um, I still think she's faking it. I think by the time they get back, like halfway through that match, Tony she'll be hulking up and she'll turn into timeless Tony again, like halfway through the match, specifically to psych out Mariah. I think in the weeks leading up to Grand Slam, you'll probably see Mariah kind of make fun of her a lot and kind of get away with it. And Tony will just kind of take it as the earnest babyface she's pretending to be.
Yeah.
And then by the time, like, at the climax of that match, she's going to, like, take off her shoe or something. Like, watch for the shoe. I think, and that's the way to go. That's what I want to happen. I think that's what they'll do. I think it's the right call. Um, Undisputed Kingdom versus Shane Taylor Promotions trios action. You know what? This is fine. You know why? Couple of reasons. Undisputed Kingdom as a trio boosts the trios division that is sorely in need of trios. I'm
Mm.
okay with it. I'm totally fine with that. Those guys obviously have natural chemistry with each other. That's great. This is a good. This is the first time the Infantry have been on AEW TV in a long, 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 long time. They look good even though they got their butts kicked.
Mhm.
It was a good introduction, kind of reintroduction for them in this new gimmick with Shane Taylor Promotion. Lee Moriarty is a technical wizard. It's always great to see him on my screen. I love the techers. Uh, but honestly, probably the best thing was the post match thing because Shane Taylor, who was ringside, managing his team, get ticked that his boys couldn't get the job done, and he takes out the entire Undisputed Kingdom. Boom, boom, boom. He looked like an enormous badass. Like I like Shane Taylor. I think he's got the same kind of authenticity that someone like an Eddie Kingston has. Like you believe everything that man says, and you believe that he believes it. Like and he definitely has an aura of legitimate tough guy to him. Like I remember way back when we were doing the one episode where our Call in the Ring segment was modern day parallels to 80s wrestlers, you know, and we chose Powerhouse Hobbs for uh, Bad News Brown.
Yeah.
Due respect to Powerhouse Brown, to Powerhouse Hobbs, we made a mistake. It should have been Shane Taylor. It's Shane Taylor.
Okay.
It's Shane Taylor. He looked amazing in this. And the post match, like it took uh all three guys from the Undisputed Kingdom, and he got into it with Matt Menard on commentary, which called out TNT champion Danny Garcia, and it took all four of those guys with Matt Menard on the outside to to uh, beat back Shane Taylor. I don't think Shane Taylor's ever looked this good. I don't think he's ever been presented as well, and he didn't even have a match. I hope that this is I hope this is signaling a little push for him because I feel like he's been doing really good work that's not been getting recognized. I think most of it's been on ROH, which is probably why.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I'm okay with the Shane Taylor push. Yeah, give that to me. I like the guy. Like I want to see him and Powerhouse Hobbs just have a big meaty man match, kick the crap out of each other. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Um, uh, What's next? Oh, Murder Machines. We're going to touch on this. Yeah, this match versus Top Flight was essentially a squash match, which
Yeah.
surprised the heck out of me. Like Top Flight is, I mean, they've never been the top tag team in the division, but they've been presented as threats, and they got obliterated. Everybody dies. Like they got a little bit of a hope spot at the end there, but like it wasn't enough. And Dante takes the a powerbomb chokeslam combo. I mean, this one probably didn't even go 6 minutes if it went that long. So yeah, going back to my earlier comments about Brian Cage, he didn't lose anything by losing to Kenny Omega. He gonna be just fine.
Hmm.
Uh, Afterwards, Action Andretti and Leo Rush came out to attack Top Flight from behind, so that thing is going to continue, which is good because it's a tag team feud that doesn't revolve around the belts. A division is made up of a whole bunch of stories, not just whoever's going for the belts. So it's good to see those stories continuing. Um, One of my favorite things of the night happens shortly thereafter, where Anthony Bowens breaks up the Acclaimed in a way that you don't see. Usually somebody turns on somebody, there's physicality, there's violence, but no. It was Max came out acting like a spoiled 13-year-old kid, completely all about himself. And Anthony Bowens and eventually Billy Gunn coming out there to call him on it and say, we don't need this. Nobody needs this. And then Caster's like, well, okay. And he pulled a bender. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go and create my own. What was
Playing
it?
with
What was it?
blackjack and
It was
hookers.
blackjack and hookers. Yeah, he did the blackjack and hookers thing. Except he didn't say that, but it
Yeah.
was the sentiment. He's like, oh, fine, I don't need you anyway. I'm the best wrestler alive. I got a jacket and I got a piece of paper that says it. Like,
Did he like file a
so it,
mark on that or something?
yeah, he filed a trademark, best wrestler alive. That's why
Or
he's
able
able
to
to say
challenge?
it. Well, I mean, he did it to get heat. Like Caster is an annoying guy, but he does it on purpose. He's a smart guy. He did it to get
Oh
heat
yeah, he's definitely being.
because he knows he's not the best wrestler alive, and everybody else knows he's not the best wrestler alive. So somebody who clearly isn't calling themselves that, instant cheap heat. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing.
What I think was really smart was Anthony Bowen setting himself up as the pride of AEW.
Loved that. I loved, and he brought back the 5 tool player thing too. So you
Mhm.
have two different ways to go with it. Whichever one hits better. I think you're right. I think they should go with the pride of AEW. Um,
And strap him up.
yeah,
ED
I
expeditiously.
I would like to see him in the TNT title scene against Danny Garcia. I think that match could be really good. I would honestly though, considering the nebulous worth in relation to each other these titles have, since we don't really know which one's number two. Like we know the world title is the top title, but we don't really know where the other ones kind of fit in with each other. I would imagine the international title is probably number two, considering who they have historically given it to and the amount of focus that it takes. But we don't really know because international technically is less than a continent, and The TNT champion is just a network, so you would think that that would be on the bottom. But the way that some people, it was originally the secondary one. So like, there's this nebulous, the list of guys who have held that kind of range where they are in the hierarchy historically. So like, I could still see him going. Like, I'd like to honestly, I'd like to see the match of Bowens versus Okada. I think that could be really good, and I think that would be a really good push for Bowens if he could beat a guy like Okada for the belt. Oof, that strap a rocket to that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So you have options, but I think you're going to have to settle things with Caster first. Just
Yeah.
because they broke up in a non-violent way doesn't mean this ends without violence. Um, but yeah, I thought that was great. It was a long time coming, and they did it in a way that you don't often see in wrestling. So definite thumbs up there for going the road less traveled. Uh, the match that was next was the Continental title, Okada versus Ishii, which I was really looking forward to. Tomohiro Ishii has steadily become one of my favorite guests on AEW television. I get really excited whenever he or Murder Grandpa show up on my screen. I'm like, I'm excited for them.
I'm all
Um,
in.
Definitely. This was surprisingly short. Uh, I'm wondering if maybe this was cut short because Ishii got injured. Apparently, he did suffer some kind of minor injury during the match. Like, for what it was only like 8 minutes. But I feel like you got all the hits, and with the hits of Tomohiro Ishii, since it's like heroic non-selling headbutts, chops, and throwing guys all over the place, and being an angry bowling ball, like I I'm not really upset about it. Like, I wanted more, but I think it was probably cut short because the next match was a squash match that didn't need to happen. So I'm wondering if they were filling time. Maybe like Dustin Rhodes versus Adam Priest was like a nothing match. Like, what? I get that they added Dustin Rhodes into the thing with Jeff Jarrett a little bit. I didn't talk about that in Dynamite, but there was an extra segment with them where Rhodes said basically he was with Jeff against MJF. He wanted him, but like, so maybe it's just to remind him that he's there. But like, this Matt, if there was a negative on this, it was this. Like, I love Dustin Rhodes. I think he's getting somehow better the older he gets.
Right?
Like, it's incredible. Like, the dude is ageless, but I don't feel like this needed to happen.
No, not really.
I mean, it was. I feel like this is maybe just time that was taken off of Okada and Ishii that they had time to fill or whatever. I don't know, but it was nothing special. It's like, if you're gonna, I know that Collision is the wrestling centric show of the two, where Dynamite still centers on wrestling, but is far more storyline driven, um, promo driven than Collision is. But this seemed like they could have filled the time better. So I'm wondering if maybe they had to cut that match short. Um, Julia Hart versus Harley Cameron was good for what it was. Harley Cameron continues to improve. She continues to be super over. She was selling the black mists pretty funnily. She came out with sunglasses, and then she looked awesome in those sunglasses, by the way. Hot girl grabs, baby. She took them off, and then she winces from the bright light, like overselling the light and everything. Like, she's just one of my favorite performers right now. I want the world for her. When she gets that first win, the crowd is going to erupt. It wasn't here though. She taps to the Heartless. Uh,
He's gonna
but
be
uh, but
Australia.
but honestly, yeah, I think that's the play. You do it in her home country. You finally give her that big singles first win in Australia. But here, she did get a lot more. She was a little bit more aggressive. She got more offense in than she normally does in these matches. I think they're probably playing that due to the infection of the Black Mist. I feel like there's an opportunity here to lean into Cameron's strengths and have the Black Mist infection not quite do what Julia Hart was hoping for it to do and go in a comedic direction, because I think they play really well off each other, because Harley is so over the top comedic and Julia Hart is deadly serious and spooky and stoic, and very, the character takes herself very seriously. I feel like there might be something here in a program that could be really entertaining, that doesn't necessarily need to revolve around actual wrestling, and maybe just like a whole bunch of skits that maybe culminates in another match. But like, I feel like there's potential for comedy to be mined here, where normally the Black Mist is deadly serious. I think with somebody who's a cartoon like Harley, I think maybe we have the opportunity to do something different here, and I like different. Different is good most of the time. Um, Match number 7, the main event, was 12-man tag that everybody freaked out about unnecessarily last week online. Rated FTR, the Outrunners, and Powerhouse Hobbs versus the Learning Tree and the Death Riders. There was a running thing throughout the show where Jericho said, "Hey, I understand, John Moxley, you might not trust me. We have a lot of history, but I think you know me well enough to know that, I'm going to be offering you a peace offering." And so later, they cut to backstage where the Learning Tree laid out Hobbs. They took his knee brace, they beat up his knee, and they left him for dead. Mm-hmm. And then a guy with a headset came on and acted just very unconvincingly. "Oh, we need help.
Are you okay?
Are you okay? Oh, we need some help over here." Like, maybe practice that first. It didn't come off well. But that being said, so the babyface team was a man down by the time the main event hits. Death Riders still don't really trust the Learning Tree much as Jericho would like them to, but their Learning Tree are going out of their way to play ball and play nice with the Death Riders. There was some good stuff, lots of rotating faces in peril. Yuta got in and worked a lot of the match, I think, from a character standpoint, to try to make up for his recent failure in the Casino Gauntlet and stuff like that. Like, he seemed like he really wanted to prove himself in this match to the other members of the Death Riders. Lots of back and forth, that kind of stuff. Anytime Jericho and Copeland got in the ring together, the crowd knew what was up. They're like, "Oh yeah, here we go!" Like, the nostalgia hits, man. Like, you can't help it. You can't help it. You know that those two have history. History always breeds nostalgia, if given enough time. At the end, the end comes when there's like everybody goes to the outside almost. Like, everybody's brawling to the outside. The Death Riders tried to kidnap Cope at one point. They put a hood over his head, and they
tagged him.
They each grab a limb, but it's, it looked silly.
Yeah.
It really looked silly. But the baby faces are like so incensed by this that they start this brawl on the outside, and almost everybody goes and all that's left are the Outrunners and the Learning Tree. And then as soon as Brian Keith looks like it's going to be over, Powerhouse Hobbs' music hits, and he comes limping down the ramp and just cleans house. And he clotheslines everybody, and he just oh man, it was great. It was really well done. He and Big Bill have a really good Meat Man segment. Eventually he gets dumped over. Bill gets dumped over the top rope, but Jericho gets hit with the total recall, and then Keith, who's a legal man, tries to hit Powerhouse with the Ring of Honor World Title belt behind the ref's back. Gets spine buster for his trouble. 1, 2, 3. The injured guy who heroically comes back and even gets the pin. Like, while sowing the seeds of like, why didn't you any of you guys help me? Like a lot of things. There were a lot of moving parts to this match, moving things forward. Uh, and I think honestly, it was I wouldn't say it was great, but it was a really good match that should put the haters to bed because honestly, all of their concerns were just delayed. Like this was going to be addressed. Like this match was made by Tony Khan. It wasn't, put together by the heel team. Okay, they didn't want to work together. They were put together in a match. Like can they coexist thing was brought up. It was dealt with. It was a major storyline that ran through the night. Like people need to have more faith in cliffhangers. They just need to. Why is this up? Instead of immediately getting on it, it's like that doesn't help anybody. Like, why are you doing this? Like, just certain things. More often than not, actually, most of these kind of things in wrestling, these pre-announcements, you have to let play out. Now, I understand that sometimes you have to earn that trust, but I think the AEW has earned that trust with pre building their matches, on a week to week basis. They've been giving us their cards, or at least the main matches of their cards, a week in advance ever since Dynamite started. Like there are plans here, guys. So like when you see something like this, maybe just like wait to see how it works out, and you know maybe it doesn't. In this case, I think it did though. Like I think honestly that this was, I mean, it was they cut the Outrunners entrance, which made me sad. But other than that, I thought the match was perfectly serviceable. It had both good wrestling action and good storytelling. Uh, I don't think anybody really looks worse for wear here. I think everybody got over. So yeah, what more do you want?
Yeah, it actually turned out a lot better than I thought it would. So I'm on board.
Yeah. I mean, these 12 guys in a single match, that's a lot
Yeah, it's
to
hard.
book. It's hard. Like you got to make sure everybody, gets their moments and stuff. So like I could have done without the weird kidnapping angle that lasted about 10 seconds as they try to awkwardly bring Cope down the stairs as the hood is falling off of his head. But like it was an excuse to have them go out. And then who was the one who got the pin? It wasn't the former world champion. It wasn't the former world tag team champions. It was the up and coming tag team setting up the up and coming babyface. So even the people who were involved in the finish were the right ones.
Yeah,
You know, so yeah, I thought it was more than serviceable. Good
yeah,
episode of Collision.
for sure. I really enjoyed it.
So yeah, that was it. You want to call in the ring?
Yeah, it's time to call in the ring, man.
If you're wondering where else you can find the Smark Foundation podcast, you can stream our show on Pandora, Spotify, and nearly anywhere else you normally stream your podcasts from, including our home at rss.com. We're also on YouTube, featuring not only full episodes of our show, but individual segments from each episode for easier content digestion. For any of those outlets, just type Smark Foundation Podcast into the search bar to find us. If you'd like to interact with us directly, we're very active on our new social media home, Blue Sky. You can contact the show at smarkfndnpodcast.bsky.social for general pro wrestling or podcast comments. And if you want to get to know us each a little bit more on a personal level, Aaron's personal account is at aaronsmark.bsky.social, and Adam's is at adamsmarkfndnpodcast.bsky.social. If you'd like to further support our show, you can visit our shop at smarkfoundationpodcast.printful.me to purchase various merchandise with our show's logo on it. Wear your SFP t-shirt or hoodie around town and spread the word about the show that strives to bring fans together around what's great about pro wrestling today, brought to you by a couple of everyday elder millennial wrestling fan dads. Now back to the